Welcome back to Untold Pain Stories, the channel where emotional, dramatic, and unforgettable stories help you improve your English naturally. Today's story is about love, healing, sacrifice, and a relationship that changed to lives forever. Stay with me until the end, because the story has an emotional twist you will never forget. My name is Ryan Carter, and 3 years ago, I fell in love with the one woman I never expected to love, my doctor. At that time, I was 24 years old and living alone in Chicago. From the outside, my life looked successful. I had a good job as a software engineer, a decent apartment, and enough money to live comfortably. But inside, I was miserable. Every day felt exactly the same. Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep, repeat. Most of my friends had moved away, and after losing my parents several years earlier, I had become emotionally distant from everyone around me. I stopped trusting people. I stopped believing in relationships. And eventually, I accepted loneliness as a normal part of life. Then everything changed on a rainy Thursday night. I was driving home from work when a speeding truck suddenly lost control on the highway. I barely had time to react. The next thing I remember was the sound of metal crashing, then darkness. When I opened my eyes, bright hospital lights surrounded me. My head hurt. My arm was wrapped in bandages. Machines beeped quietly around me. For a few seconds, I couldn't understand where I was. Then I heard a gentle voice. "Good morning." I turned my head slowly. Standing beside my bed was the most beautiful doctor I had ever seen. She looked young, confident, and calm. Her dark brown hair was tied neatly behind her head, and a stethoscope hung around her neck. Most importantly, she had kind eyes. The kind of eyes that instantly made people feel safe. "My name is Dr. Emily Parker," she said softly. "You've been unconscious for almost 12 hours. I tried sitting up. Immediately, pain shot through my body. Easy." She smiled. "You're lucky to be alive." Over the next few days, Emily became a regular part of my life. Every morning she checked on me. Every afternoon she reviewed my recovery. Every evening she answered my endless questions. Unlike most doctors, she never seemed rushed. She listened carefully. She remembered details. And somehow, she always knew when I was having a bad day. One afternoon, she entered my room carrying a clipboard. "You look bored." I laughed. "I've been staring at the same ceiling for days." She smiled. "Fair point." Then she pulled a chair beside my bed. "So tell me something interesting about yourself." I looked surprised. "Is that part of the treatment?" "Maybe." For the next 20 minutes we talked. Not about medicine, not about injuries, just life. It was the first real conversation I had enjoyed in a very long time. As the days passed, I found myself looking forward to her visits. Whenever she entered the room, my mood improved. Whenever she left, the room felt empty again. At first, I ignored those feelings. After all, she was my doctor, nothing more. But emotions don't always listen to logic. One evening, Emily found me staring out the hospital window. Rain was falling outside. The city lights reflected against the wet streets below. "You seem lost in thought," she said. I shrugged. "Just thinking." "About what?" For a moment, I hesitated. Then I answered honestly. "Sometimes I wonder if my life actually matters." Emily's expression changed immediately. "What makes you say that?" I sighed. "My parents died when I was young." She remained silent. "I don't really have anyone." The room suddenly felt heavy. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Emily pulled a chair beside me. "Ryan," she said quietly, "do you know something I've learned as a doctor?" "What?" "The people who seem strongest on the outside are often carrying the most pain inside." Her words hit me harder than she realized, because she was right. I had spent years pretending to be okay, but the truth was, I wasn't. For the first time in years, I opened up to someone, and surprisingly, that someone was my doctor. A week later, I was finally discharged from the hospital. I should have been happy. Instead, I felt strangely sad. As I packed my belongings, Emily entered the room carrying paperwork. "Looks like this is goodbye." I forced a smile. "Looks like it." She handed me the documents. Our fingers touched briefly. A tiny moment, yet somehow it felt important. "You'll be fine," she said. "Just follow the recovery plan." I nodded. Then silence filled the room. Neither of us seemed eager to leave. Finally, she smiled. "Take care of yourself, Ryan." "You too, doctor." And just like that, I walked away. I told myself I would forget her. I was wrong. The following weeks were harder than expected. Physically, I recovered quickly. Emotionally, something felt missing. Every day I found myself thinking about Emily. Her smile, her voice, the way she listened, the way she made me feel seen. I knew it was ridiculous. People don't fall in love with their doctors. At least that's what I kept telling myself. Then one evening, my phone rang. A known number. I answered. "Hello?" There was a brief pause. Then I heard her voice. "Hi, Ryan." My heart nearly stopped. "Emily?" She laughed softly. "Yes." What a surprise. "I just wanted to check on my favorite patient." I smiled immediately. "I'm doing okay." "Good." That conversation lasted almost an hour. Then another one happened the next day. Then another. Soon we were talking every evening, sometimes for 30 minutes, sometimes for 3 hours. The more we talked, the more I realized how incredible she was. Emily wasn't just intelligent, she was compassionate, strong, funny, and despite helping people every day, she carried sadness inside her. One night, I finally asked about it. "Emily?" "Yes?" "Can I ask you something personal?" She paused. "Sure." "Why did you become a doctor?" The silence on the other end suddenly felt different, heavier. When she finally spoke, her voice sounded emotional. "Because I lost someone." I sat quietly. "My younger sister." My heart sank. Emily continued speaking softly. "She was only 16 when she got sick." Tears were obvious in her voice. "The doctors tried everything." I closed my eyes. "I'm sorry." "So am I." For several moments, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered something I would never forget. "I became a doctor because I never wanted another family to feel what mine felt." That night, I realized I wasn't just attracted to Emily. I admired her, respected her, and maybe, just maybe, I was falling in love with her. The following weeks felt like a dream. Emily and I talked every single day. Sometimes we discussed movies. Sometimes we shared childhood memories. And sometimes we simply sat on the phone in comfortable silence. The more time I spent with her, the more I realized how different she was from everyone I had ever met. One Saturday afternoon, Emily finally agreed to meet me outside the hospital. We chose a small coffee shop near the lake. I arrived 20 minutes early because I was nervous. When Emily walked through the door, my heart immediately started racing. For the first time, she wasn't wearing a white coat. She looked beautiful, simple, natural, and somehow even more amazing than before. She laughed when she saw my expression. "What?" I smiled. "Nothing." "Liar." For the next 3 hours, we talked and laughed like we had known each other forever. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely happy. Not distracted, not entertained. Happy. After that day, we started spending more time together. We visited bookstores, walked through parks, tried new restaurants, and slowly, our friendship became something deeper. One evening, we sat beside the lake watching the sunset. The sky glowed orange and gold. The water reflected the last light of the day. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then Emily broke the silence. "You know something?" "What?" "Meeting you was unexpected." I smiled. "Good unexpected or bad unexpected?" She laughed softly. "Definitely good." My heart pounded. I knew this was the moment. The moment I had imagined 100 times. I took a deep breath, then looked directly into her eyes. "Emily." "Yes? I think I'm in love with you." The words escaped before I could stop them. For a second, everything became silent. I could hear my own heartbeat. Emily looked down. Then slowly, tears appeared in her eyes. My stomach dropped. Had I ruined everything? But then she smiled. A beautiful, emotional smile. "I was hoping you'd say that." I stared at her. "What?" She laughed through her tears. "I love you too, Ryan." At that moment, the entire world seemed to disappear. Nothing else mattered. Only her. The following year became the happiest year of my life. For the first time, I had someone who truly understood me. Someone who stayed. Someone who cared. Emily wasn't just my girlfriend. She was my best friend. My safe place. My future. We started talking about marriage. About buying a house. About building a life together. Everything finally seemed perfect. Then one afternoon, everything changed. I was sitting in my office when my phone rang. It was Emily. Immediately, I noticed something was wrong. Her voice sounded weak. "Ryan." My heart tightened. "Emily? What's wrong? Can you come to the hospital?" I stood up instantly. "I'm coming." 20 minutes later, I found her sitting alone in a doctor's office. Her eyes were red. She had clearly been crying. Fear filled my chest. "What happened?" Emily looked down, then slowly handed me a medical report. At first, I didn't understand what I was reading. Then I saw one word: cancer. Everything around me seemed to stop. The room became silent. The air disappeared from my lungs. "No." My voice barely worked. "No." Emily started crying. I immediately pulled her into my arms. This couldn't be happening. Not to her. Not to the woman who spent her life saving others. Over the following months, our lives became a battle. Chemotherapy, hospital visits, treatments, pain, fear. Some days Emily was strong. Other days she could barely get out of bed. Watching her suffer broke my heart. One night, I found her sitting alone by the hospital window. The city lights glowed outside. She looked tired, exhausted, fragile, yet somehow still beautiful. I sat beside her quietly. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then Emily whispered something that terrified me. "What if I don't make it?" I immediately shook my head. "Don't say that." "But what if?" "No." Tears filled my eyes. "You're going to survive." Emily looked at me sadly. "You can't know that." I grabbed her hand. "Maybe not." "Then why are you so sure?" I looked directly into her eyes. "Because I refuse to imagine a world without you." Emily started crying. So did I. That night we sat together until sunrise. Neither of us wanted to let go. The months that followed tested us in every possible way. There were moments when we lost hope. Moments when the treatment seemed useless. Moments when fear consumed us completely. But somehow we kept fighting. Together. One morning, after a particularly difficult week, Emily called me into her hospital room. When I entered, she was smiling. A real smile. For the first time in months. Immediately, I felt confused. "What's going on?" She handed me a folder. My hands shook as I opened it. Then I saw the results. The treatment was working. The cancer was shrinking. I looked up. Emily was crying. I was crying too. For several seconds, neither of us could speak. Then I pulled her into my arms. It felt like the entire world had been lifted from our shoulders. Recovery wasn't easy. It took months. But slowly, Emily became stronger. Her energy returned. Her smile returned. And eventually, her health returned too. Exactly 1 year later, I stood in a beautiful garden surrounded by flowers. Friends and family filled the seats around us. The sun shined brightly overhead. I adjusted my suit nervously. Then the music started. Everyone stood, and there she was, Emily, walking toward me in a white dress. She looked absolutely breathtaking. Tears filled my eyes immediately. Not because she looked beautiful, but because she was alive. She reached me, took my hands, and smiled. The same smile I had seen years earlier in a hospital room. The same smile that changed my life forever. As we exchanged vows, I realized something important. Love isn't finding someone perfect. Love is choosing someone every day, especially when life becomes difficult, especially when fear appears, especially when everything falls apart. Because real love doesn't run away during hard times. It stays, it fights, it heals. Today, Emily and I have been married for 2 years. She still works as a doctor. She still helps people every single day. And sometimes when I visit her at the hospital, I watch her comforting scared patients. Then I remember the frightened young man lying in a hospital bed years ago. A man who believed he would always be alone. A man who had stopped believing in happiness. That man was me. And the woman who changed everything was my doctor. Sometimes life introduces you to people when you least expect it. Sometimes the person who heals your body ends up healing your heart too. And sometimes the greatest love stories begin in the most unexpected places. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this emotional English story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share untold pain stories with your friends. Until next time, keep learning, keep dreaming, and never stop believing that one person can completely change your life.